going to talk about legislation involving the legal issues Georgians sometimes face. Joining me is Republican Senator Ed Setzler of Ackworth. He chairs the Senate Science and Technology Committee and is Vice President of State and Local Government Operations and Secretary of Health and Human Services in the Senate. He's also on Senate Appropriations. Also here is a member of Appropriations in the House, Democratic Representative Scott Holcomb of Atlanta. A few of the other committees he serves on include Defense and Veterans Affairs, Judiciary and Public Safety, and Homeland Security. Welcome back to Lawmakers to both of you. I appreciate this. Good to be with you, Don. Yes, Chairman Setzler, I'm going to start with you. Let's start with your bill, SB 404. It flips the traditional approach to child custody in divorce cases. Tell us about it.
You know, Don, if Georgia to be the best place to live, work, and to raise a family, we've got to make sure that no one's left behind in that process. And we think about the challenges we face. You know, more than 40% of kids in Georgia are born out of wedlock. In all those cases, there's going to be a child custody arrangement that's put in place by our court system. And then, of course, as you see, even kids who are in families where divorce happens, what can we do to set conditions for both parents to be involved in those kids' lives, to make a difference in their lives? We recognize that both parents have an important role in parenthood. And in Georgia, the average kid spends only 20% of the time with their non-custodial parent. We recognize the importance of having both parents in their lives is very important. And when this has been done in other states, from Kentucky to Florida, even Massachusetts has done this for years, we see domestic violence go down, and we see the outcomes for kids be dramatically better.
So the default is a joint custody, and then the judges would make the decisions from there if they want it to be one parent or the other?
Judges will always make the decision for what's in the best interest of the child. But what we're doing in Senate Bill 404 is we're simply saying that the default would be a 50-50 sharing between mom and dad, that if there's evidence that suggests one parent shouldn't have as much time as the other, then the judge can make that determination exactly like they can today. But the starting point would be 50-50 sharing of time. And we've seen in other states that have done this, a real benefit for kids, a reduction in violence, and just overall better outcomes for the family.
Okay, I'm going to get back with you on that a little bit. Representative Holcomb, you have a bill that would allow a Georgia judge to take a second look at certain life sentences without parole and after 20 years, but it's kind of narrow in that certain defined cases, not considering murder or rape or other violent crimes. So talk about that a little bit.
That's right. It's something that I think is worthy of a conversation. It was brought to me by Kelly Burke, who is a former district attorney from Houston County in the middle of our state, and he was a very accomplished prosecutor, but he's very much committed to trying to fix a case that he worked on. And specifically, there was a young man who committed an armed robbery, very significant offense. It was at the time that Georgia was moving to a tough on crime approach, and he was caught in with statutes of recidivism. His other incidents weren't particularly severe and grave, but because he was caught under that statute as a recidivist, he received life without parole. The other individual, and nobody was hurt, there was no violence that was part of this, the other individual received 10 years. So this person has now served 28 years in prison for a felony that did not involve violence, that did not result in a death. And the idea is to open this up so that individuals can petition the court and potentially have their sentence relooked at. And I think it's important both from a correction standpoint and from a morality standpoint. We know things today that we didn't know 20 years ago when we had the policies that he was captured under, and it preceded a lot of the good work that the state has done with criminal justice reform. So I really hope we can...
Right now, judges can't revisit those cases?
They can't.
Not even at the 25-year mark,
Correct.
Which is considered life.
And there's limited activity that comes out of the Board of Pardons and Paroles. And I think if you think about the criminal justice system as a system, it's a fair conversation to have of whether or not we want to spend state resources on the great cost of incarcerating older inmates as opposed to potentially putting more resources at the beginning, solving crime, deterring crime. And so for those that have have really served consequential terms of 20 years. It just gives a potential path to have a second look at it, and certainly this is one instance, but there are others out there.
Okay, I'm going to talk to you a little bit more too. Chairman Setzler, back to SB 404, how would it address conflicts in marriages that lead to divorce? Domestic violence, maybe problems with the child abuse?
Yeah. What we find is that when you look at states that have done this before, we see a decrease long-term in domestic violence of about 20%. And during the period in which custody is in dispute, we see a decrease in family violence of about 33%. So there's a big step down. What it does is it de-escalates some of the conflict between mom and dad because there's shared time. You know, dad's able to pick the kids up at school, mom drops them off, dad picks them up. It's a more harmonious relationship with respect to managing the kids as opposed to dad having or mom having just a very narrow amount of time. So we've seen a de-escalation in violence. But again, as we said before, Don, it doesn't change the standard. Judges are still going to make decisions based on what's in the best interest of the child. It just gives the judges a starting point of 50-50 from which they would have to find facts and say, but because of this fact or this fact, we're going to award more custody to one parent or the other. But the starting point is still 50-50 to, again, de-escalate some of that conflict.
Would child support be involved at all in terms of determining who does the child support or helps one family, side of the family or the other?
Yeah, the time the kid spends with each parent is going to have some impact on child support. But interestingly, what we found is that the custodial parents that bear the brunt of the cost in shared parenting arrangements, we've actually seen their careers and incomes do quite well because you're sharing time with the kids. They're able to pursue career opportunities for themselves. So long term, the financial outcome of both parents is better. But it does that through the parents' means, not through a court ruling. That could take one parent that maybe has another family, another marriage that's having to send money back and forth. It just creates a lot of conflict, and the kids don't benefit from it.
Yeah, but the judge in the end makes that decision.
The judge makes the call.
Okay, we're going to get to another bill you have. You have a bill that deals with improving data tracking for crimes. Tell us what that's all about.
I'd be happy to. We live in a big data world. However, when it comes to the criminal justice system, we do a terrible job of tracking arrests, indictments, prosecutions. Is that there's a real void of information, which is important for us to understand how we're doing in terms of the trend lines in solving crimes. We really give a lot of attention rightly to murders, and we have very high clearance rates of murders, meaning that they're solved and people are held accountable for it. But so many crimes below that, we have clearance rates of less than 10%, like rape, sexual assault, and a lot of property crimes, like people, their neighbors get robbed and then nothing happens. We all know about that. So what I want to do is really get the data out there so we can see where the incidents are happening and also longitudinally how are we doing in terms of addressing it and reducing it, because we really work in this void that's unacceptable.
Okay, I want to get to something real quick with you. You want to protect home ownership through creating incentives for Wall Street to sell homes to the original families, the single family homes, I guess.
Yep.
You want to do that. We don't have a lot of time, so.
Don, we've seen an issue around the metro area of big corporate interests, Wall Street interests buying up single family homes, especially in the lower half of the price bracket. Yeah. So younger families can't find a home. I'm going to have a bill this year that's going to create both kind of a carrot and a stick approach to encourage investors to sell their homes to first-time homeowners, to get people back into the housing business so folks can own their own homes. Again, particularly people at the lower income levels who want to own their first home and become a first-time home buyer.
Yeah, we're going to get you back in when you get that bill ready, and we'll talk more about it. I do want to get something in real quick. You guys have known each other for a long, long time. You were very excited that he was going to be on with you. In the talk about what the connection is. It's at the infantry.
Senator Setzler and I served together more than 20 years ago in the 3rd Infantry Division down at Fort Stewart, and so we have a bond that goes beyond politics, and while we're in different parties, we have a close friendship because of that. Yeah,
it's amazing that you guys, did you stay connected all over those years?
We did, and we kind of reconnected through politics, but it's just funny how life kind of brings you through the people you run into. No matter where you go, it's been kind of fun to watch that.
Yeah, I bet it has been. I appreciate that. We did put a picture up of what it looked like for the 15th Infantry Regiment. Thank you so much. Thank you for serving and in the military and in the Georgia legislature.